and a very good evening to Front Page, only on the AIM network, India's definitive media organization and voice on everything AI and technology. Well, this week the tech world did not iterate, it actually detonated. And here are the headlines which take you closer to ground zero. Google launches Nano Banana 2, merging hyperspeed flash architecture with 4K fidelity. From Pratham's viral handwriting verification to pro-level editing, the image wars just entered a ruthless new era. Anthropic just walked away from a $200 million Pentagon contract. CEO Dario Amodei defied a strict military ultimatum. No autonomous weapons, no domestic spying. The AI safety war escalates. Jack Dorsey's Block cuts 4,000 jobs, 40% of its workforce, citing AI efficiency. Despite strong profits, the firm pivots to an intelligence-native model, replacing human roles with automated systems like Goose. Replit disrupts the video war by weaponizing its 35 million user ecosystem. Its AI agent now programs React-based animations, bypassing traditional rendering to turn complex code into professional high-impact promotional MP4s instantly. Indian ISPs block Supabase API domains, paralyzing thousands of applications. Developers appeal to IT Minister Ashwini Vaishnav as DNS poisoning triggers massive production outages, threatening the nation's Build in India momentum. The Indian government has issued a stern ultimatum to digital giants, demanding fair revenue sharing with news publishers and creators. Simultaneously, strict new IT rules now mandate a 3-hour window for deepfake removal. Right. So basically, the small glowing rectangle in your pocket has had another makeover. I was of course talking about your phone. Google has unveiled what it's calling Nano Banana 2, or if you prefer, something that sounds as though it came straight from an engineering meeting. It also answers to Gemini 3.1 flash image. Is it catchy? Debatable. Ambitious? Absolutely. But is it a revolution? And of course, before we go further to understand that, if you enjoy what we do here, please say hello in the comments. Suggest a name for this growing band of curious minds. We'll of course choose the best one. And if you feel others ought to know what's unfolding in the world of technology, please give this a push. If you're ready, here is the play. Google wants speed. They use the flash architecture to trim the fat. You want an image? You get it now. No more waiting, no more loading bars. It's staccato delivery for a TikTok generation. Earlier models felt like, well, a dial-up. This feels like a sprint. But then, of course, there is a snag. Quality usually becomes a casualty with speed. But Google claims they beat the odds. The images you are right now looking at are nice, no? The company is boasting sharper detail. Skin tones look more natural. Lighting behaves itself. I believe they are pushing 4K resolution directly into your chat box. Even the text rendering is fixed. Text in images. Once a national embarrassment is now actually legible. Yes, Nano Banana can spell. It also actually draws on live information from the web to make pictures feel grounded in the real world. Supporters call it a contextual marvel. Critiques raise an eyebrow and reach for the phrase hallucination machine. As always, the truth will emerge somewhere between the press release and, of course, the public's patience. Here's, of course, where it gets interesting. Some of the fancier editing tools are no longer reserved for those with deep pockets. They're actually appearing inside everyday applications. Search, Lens, and of course, the Gemini app itself. On X, a user named Pratham put it through a rather specific test. Handwriting matching. To general surprise, it managed brilliantly, a confirmed hit. Even Google's video tool, Flow, is getting a slice of the upgrade. But of course, let's not get carried away. The very finest extras still sit behind a subscription. A small taste for free, the full feast at a price. Remember when Geo was free? Exactly. Why launch this now? That is the question. Because rivals are circling. User growth has become the great obsession. The first Nano Banana gave Gemini a noticeable bump. The sequel aims to turn that very bump into a stride. And how, of course, does that take place? Well, by not making this about prettier pictures, but about habit and how quickly habit becomes instinct. As you would, of course, have noticed, the competition is very fierce. Polite in tone, but ruthless in intent. I wonder though, will Nano Banana 2 settle in comfortably, or will it slip on its own enthusiasm? And here, of course, as always, is the front page take. Here's what it means for you. Images arrive faster, they look better. For now, it costs nothing extra. Professional grade tools wrapped in a friendly interface. Google, of course, would very much like to shape how you capture, edit, and present your world. It's quick, polished, and it goes, of course, by the name Nano Banana 2. Admire the shine, but you know what? Keep a steady head. This, ladies and gentlemen, is Front Page by the AIM Network. Like, share, subscribe, and always remember, think AI, think banana, think AIM. The clock just ran out. It is Friday, February the 27th, 5:01 p.m. The deadline has passed. Anthropic just stared down the Pentagon. Did it blink? Absolutely not. CEO Dario Amodei said no. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth demanded total control. He wanted Anthropic's Claude AI for any lawful use. Amodei walked away, leaving behind a $200 million contract on the table. The disagreement centers on control. The Pentagon claims it needs absolute flexibility. War happens in the unpredictable gray zones. Ad hoc tech rules get soldiers killed. They promise they follow the law. No rogue terminators, no spying on Americans. But Anthropic does not agree. They read the Pentagon's Wednesday night best and final offer and saw nothing but legal loopholes. Amodei has publicly acknowledged that today's systems remain imperfect. They can generate convincing but incorrect outputs, which means they still hallucinate, and on that basis, Anthropic refused to authorize deployment in fully autonomous weapon systems, or, for that matter, agree to terms that could permit mass domestic surveillance. So for a company that has built its reputation around safety commitments, the line appears to be deliberate. Hegseth was not pleased at all. He laid out sharp threats in their tense Tuesday meeting. First, tear up the contract with Anthropic. Second, slap Anthropic with a supply chain risk label, which is of course a scarlet letter usually reserved for foreign spies. And just to give you context, heavyweights like Boeing and Lockheed Martin would have to rip Anthropic code out of their systems if that happens. Anyway, the third threat, the ultimate trump card, the Defense Production Act. The government could legally compel Anthropic to hand over an unlocked model. The trillion-dollar dream of defense technology is turning very well into a hostage situation. This rupture in the relationship is very striking because Anthropic had previously been deeply embedded in US defense infrastructure. The first AI in the classified networks, woven deep into Palantir. They even, of course, helped capture Venezuela's Nicolas Maduro. Now, the relationship appears to be unraveling. Amodei even offered a smooth transition to a rival to keep military operations running. Why? Because the Pentagon found a willing partner. Elon Musk, XAI, just signed the exact deal Anthropic rejected. No safeguards, all lawful use. Meanwhile, Google and OpenAI remain active in defense discussions. So the point is, what happens next for you and I, our data, our future security? Here is, as always, the front page take. The implications extend beyond a single contract. The government holds statutory authority and national security responsibility. Technology firms possess specialized expertise and control over increasingly capable systems. One side argues that defense operations cannot be constrained by corporate hesitation. The other maintains that certain safeguards are necessary regardless of the client. The February 27 deadline has passed. The contract remains unsigned. And between Washington and Silicon Valley, the boundaries of military technology are being negotiated in real time. This, ladies and gentlemen, is Front Page by the AIM Network. Like, share, subscribe, and always remember, think AI, think AIM. Jack Dorsey has just shaken up Silicon Valley. It is not a glitch, neither is it a polite restructuring. It is actually a very deep cut. At Block Incorporated, the parent of Square, Cash App, and Tidal, they're cutting 4,000 jobs, that is 40% of the team gone. But before, of course, we move on, let me please introduce you to the man responsible for this carnage, Jack Dorsey, the billionaire enigma, the man who gave us the 140-character limit and the mobile credit card reader. He's known as the monk CEO, who relishes ice baths, silent retreats, a nose ring, and a Bitcoin obsession. Wow. He co-founded Twitter, ran it twice, then of course walked away to build a block empire. Jack is not a follower of trends. He believes in inventing them. And guess what? He's inventing the post-human corporation. Here is the twist, of course. One would think maybe that this company is in distress for such a move. But no, that is not the case. Block remains profitable. The balance sheet is described as strong and healthy, which means basically this is a complete redesign of the vessel. Dorsey believes people slow the system. Thank you. Software accelerates it. He calls it an AI efficiency mandate. The implication is quite clear. The machines are no longer assisting, they are replacing. Dorsey, of course, would like this framed as evolution. Inside the company, an internal tool called Goose is now doing much of the work. It writes the code. It handles operations. It doesn't take lunch breaks. It doesn't ask for equity. And it may just be laying the golden eggs. He calls it a flat hierarchy, which is one way of describing a company where the only thing climbing the ladder is software. He calls it a flat hierarchy, as I just mentioned. Well, as we move along, we understand the fact that he's now betting on what he describes as intelligence native operations, systems built to write the code, process the payments, and make the calls. No layers, no middle management, no meetings that begin with, well, just circling back. If it works, your digital wallet may soon be overseen by fewer people than, well, your group chat. Wall Street, they are salivating. The stock price didn't just move, it actually just teleported up 27%. Wow. The market loves a lean machine. It hates a very heavy payroll. Investors aren't looking at the 4,000 families losing a paycheck. Why should they? They're looking at the trillion-dollar dream of a company with zero overhead. Dorsey is playing the cool founder card on the way out. 20 weeks of pay, 6 months of healthcare, a $5,000 goodbye bonus, a thoughtful cushion for a very hard floor. He calls the moment awkward and human. Critics, of course, call it polished empathy for a decidedly mechanical decision. But there is, of course, a warning in all of this. Dorsey says he isn't early. He says everyone else is late. Well, that was expected. He predicts a domino effect. 1 year, most companies, same cuts. He's skipping the drip feed layoffs. No slow death. Just one clean strike. And here, of course, is the front page take. So what's in it for you, the user? Dorsey says you'll be able to build your own features, systems assembling tools on demand, Lego bricks, if you will, for your bank account. But then there is a catch. When a system rewrites your balance to zero, who exactly do you call? And you won't be calling the Ghostbusters. This feels like a bellwether moment. The productivity booster language is fading. A different chapter is definitely opening. Workforce reduction is no longer a warning. It's actually, unfortunately, becoming the strategy. The race for efficiency has a new standard bearer, and he wears a nose ring and tweets from a silent retreat. This, ladies and gentlemen, is Front Page by the AIM Network. Like, share, subscribe, and as always, think AI, think AIM. Have you seen the landscape lately? The AI video wars are heating up. On the one side, you have the pixel pushers, Sora, Runway. They dream in pixels and hallucinate reality. But Replit changed the game. They aren't just dreaming, but are coding. It's called Replit animated videos. Forget prompt to video, think prompt to program. Replit's agent builds a React app under the hood. It uses website animation libraries and custom skills. It's not a movie, it's actually a living, breathing application. Then it renders to MP4, 720p, 1080p, your choice, 30 or 60 frames per second, all smooth as butter. The story unfolding here feels competitive, almost combative. Conventional wisdom says a proper SaaS promo demands a serious budget, $5,000 at least, a small crew, a production schedule. Replit suggests something rather different. A prompt will do. Create a 30-second explainer for large language models. Delivered. Produce a cinematic promo for Austin, Texas. Completed. The look is unmistakably modern software. Minimal, polished, corporate in the way investors like. But restraint is required. This is not, of course, a Hollywood studio. There are no lifelike actors, no sweeping wildlife panoramas. The output is structured, designed, animated, which is basically precision over spectacle. Here is, of course, the interesting part for the young engineers and the crazy ones building the next unicorn. Iteration is the new king. The first draft is no longer the final word. You need to hit the enhance prompt button and tell the agent, make it dark blue and gold. Then you mention, add a logo reveal. So you see, right? It's like having a junior motion designer who never sleeps and of course doesn't complain about final V2 real final MP4. But of course, don't think Replit is alone in the trenches. Lottie Lab is chasing the interactive dream. Jitter is simplifying the motion design workspace, and the biggest shadow on its heels, Remotion. Individual developers are already using Claude to write Remotion code. It's the same code to video playbook, but Replit has put it in a box. They didn't just build a tool, they built a factory. But Replit, they already own our workflow. 35 million users, 750,000 businesses. We are already there, we are already coding. We don't need a new tab, we actually need a new feature. And Replit just handed us a motion graphics studio in a chat box. They trust Replit with their database, they trust them with their authorization. So why wouldn't they actually trust them with their brand video? And here, of course, is the front page take. Is it flawless? Not quite. The preview window can loop endlessly. There is no pause button waiting for you. Rendering takes minutes rather than moments. The servers carry the strain while you, of course, step away for a coffee. But the distance is narrowing. The line between writing code and producing content is thinning to almost nothing. Video creation is beginning to resemble a development task. The long-promised vision of total creative control has acquired another contender. Please do let us know what you think in the comments below. This, ladies and gentlemen, is Front Page by the AIM Network. Like, share, subscribe, and as always, Thinky I, thinky I am. The Build in India ambition has run into an unexpected obstacle. It is February 24, 2026. You are a developer in Bengaluru, a founder in Noida. You wake up and your app is down. Authentication has failed. The database will not respond. At first, it looks like a bug. You comb through the code. You check the deployment. Everything appears intact. The application is sound. The infrastructure is stable. The interruption actually lies elsewhere. Your internet provider has quietly restricted access, including access to your own back end. And just like that, what felt like a technical glitch becomes something way larger. Welcome to what many are now calling the Great Indian Super Base Blackout. Here's the anatomy of the hit. The marketing site superbase.com works perfectly fine. The actual engine .superbase.co is a ghost town. Jio, Airtel, ACT, FiberNet are performing DNS poisoning. You ask for your database, Jio points you to a sinkhole, specifically IP 49.44.79.236. It's like calling your mom and getting redirected to a police station. Wow, that's disturbing. This is not, of course, a routine outage. It feels deliberate, and the fallout extends well beyond a single dashboard. Every startup relying on what was marketed as the Firebase alternative suddenly finds itself exposed. Now, of course, to the battle over the narrative. The official position is silence. Users tell a very different story. Reports point to government-mandated blocks. Why restrict a technical utility used largely by developers? That's the question. Theories are circulating quickly. Perhaps a single bad actor hosted questionable content on a Superbase subdomain. The traditional response in such situations has rarely been surgical. Rather than isolate one project, access to the broader service appears to be restricted. It is the digital equivalent of sealing off an entire building to deal with one tenant. Is this a case of mistaken classification or a deliberate signal to overseas developer platforms operating in India? Very poignant question. Day 3. The desperation sets in. Superbase CEO isn't calling support. He's actually tagging the minister. An open appeal to Ashwini Vaishnav on X. We serve millions, our users are paralyzed, please talk to us, end quote. Have you thought about the optics? Wow, India wants to be the SaaS capital of the world. But if a ministry order can flip a switch and demolish your back end overnight, that's not a tech powerhouse, it is actually a huge risk factor. The trust is definitely bleeding. Founders are looking at the exit signs. If the infrastructure isn't safe, the code doesn't matter. So, how do you survive? The community is in MacGyver mode. Switch your DNS to Google 8.8.8.8. Use Cloudflare Warp. The pros are moving to custom domains. So if you're on a paid plan, api.yourbrand.com still works. Why? Because the ISP filters are looking for the name Superbase, not the IP. Some, of course, are even migrating projects from Mumbai to Singapore. But that's, of course, a band-aid on a bullet wound. It helps the developer. It doesn't help the millions of casual users on Jio who can't log into their favorite dating or, for that matter, fintech app. And here, of course, is the front page take if you're not distracted by your dating app. So where does it stand now? By all technical measures, Superbase is operational. The dashboards are definitely green. Traffic flows elsewhere. Outside India, everything here appears normal. Inside India, access remains restricted. It has, of course, become a regional lockout. Discussions with the Ministry of Electronics and Information Technology, MeitY, are said to be ongoing. But for the 20-something founder building the next product from a co-working space, the takeaway is less diplomatic. Infrastructure is not just a technical, no, it is geopolitical. In moments like this, your tech stack can become collateral in a much larger conversation. But you need not worry, keep an eye on what is going on, because definitely we at Front Page are going to be tracking what happens next. This, ladies and gentlemen, is Front Page by the AIM Network. Like, share, subscribe, and as always, think AI, think AIM. We'll take a short little break right now, and when we are back with Pallavi, our tech journalist. In India's fast expanding digital arena, the rules are changing. At the center is Ashwini Vaishnav, moving beyond warnings and deepfakes to question the very economics of social media. His message is quite clear. If platforms profit from journalists, researchers, and creators, then revenue must be shared more fairly. And if synthetic media corrodes public trust, accountability must move at digital speed. So under tightened IT rules, major platforms will have to label AI-generated content, embed traceable identifiers, and in some cases remove unlawful material within hours. Just 2 hours for deepfake nudity or defamation. It is no longer simply about moderation, I believe. It is about consent, compensation, and trust, ladies and gentlemen, the foundation of any digital public sphere. And joining me today is Pallavi Chakravarti, our tech journalist, who is going to be having a deep dive with me, trying to understand what's the way forward. Pallavi, a big warm welcome to Front Page. How are you doing?
I'm good, Sudhi. How are you?
Very well. All right, Pallavi, first and foremost, I would like for you to just very briefly tell me and the viewers, what did the minister say, so that at least we understand what the context is.
So actually, he was speaking at a conclave, a digital conclave, and he said that the social media companies now they have to pay a fair share of the revenue. I don't know what he meant by fair share, but he said that basically the creators and the smaller creators or the bigger creators, all of them should get a fair share of the revenue from the social media companies.
So my
One is that, and
immediate question to you is, like you
yeah.
said, fair share. Who
Yeah.
decides fair revenue? Who decides what is fair and what is not?
Yeah, very rightly said. So as of now, we don't have a regulatory body, at least in India, which decides that there what should be the fair share between the companies and the creators. But as of now, considering the situation we are in and considering how government is getting serious about it, so there can be two options. One is that either the company decides on its own, basically a kind of following an Australian model, wherein they can be a government appointed arbitrator, and they can decide as to what shall be the revenue sharing model between the creator and the company. The other thing there can be the IT ministry themselves can act as a mediator or can lay down certain rules for the company to follow, which can be a benchmark for the creators. Now, in all of this, actually, in the absence of any rules, or even if there is a rule, now the issue is that whether all creators, because there are small town creators, there are bigger creators,
Correct.
influencers, what will be actually the bifurcation, who will actually benefit and who will not really benefit, and how far will they
For
benefit
example,
is
will
also
it
a
be
very big
based
question.
on numbers of followers that they have? I mean, these are just thoughts
Yeah,
that I
yeah.
have from the top of my head. Or could
Yes,
it
yes.
be with the amount of content they're creating, or
Yeah.
things like that?
Yeah, yeah, definitely. There will be a lot of parameters which need to be taken into account, because there are various like there are micro creators, there are big creators. So there is a whole segregation which the influencer agencies and the companies they follow. Now, accordingly, they will probably have to get down to a model which is followed universally by all the major platforms. Of course, there are a few local, or rather, I would say, India-based platforms as well, which are in different languages, in different regional languages. Now, what kind of model will they follow? Because we always talk about, when we talk about social media, it is always either Instagram, Facebook, or
Correct.
YouTube. So, but that only isn't social media in the country. I mean, of course, they're the biggest players. So they are anyway not much, affected or impacted by any rules which come out. The companies who are actually impacted are the smaller players. So now, whether these rules and how far these rules will actually be set into place, that we really need to we have to see that.
Okay, so tell me this, AI, as far as the takedowns, are 2-hour deepfake takedowns and mandatory AI labeling technically realistic, Pallavi? Or do they generally just risk over censorship and rushed moderation?
Yeah, I mean, see now there are a couple of points in that. Now, one is what is the technical reality part. So, like when we say, like when these, any kind of deepfake is flagged, right?
Hmm.
Now there is the technicality is that whether it's a permanent or non-removal metadata, which is at a very infant stage. Now, for a platform to verify, review, and remove a deepfake, it takes about approximately 120 minutes, and it's a very small window considering the at the speed which you have to operate. Because
Also,
what
the
happens.
sheer amount of numbers you have to deal with.
Absolutely. So what happens is that it that kind of a quick update requires massive localized moderation teams or over reliance on automated kill
Correct.
switches. Now, are we ready for that? Do we have that in place? Is a very big question. So it's a great it's like a good dream to have, but how far it can be implemented. And also it also risks that there's a lot of for example, the government is actually coming in, and whether the people are actually getting to see, which is possibly not deep fake, but
Yeah.
because of a little bit of a you can say a doubt or some kind of a filler which probably the company is having, it might just delete it. So it's like delete first, ask questions later kind of a policy, which we are right now looking at.
Yeah, so it's going
So
to be a
again,
lot of knee-jerk
yeah,
reactions. It's a lot of going to be like act before
absolutely,
you kind of
absolutely,
think sort of a situation, which really is not
definitely.
great. It's a good initiative. It's like
It
saying,
is, it is.
let's go home, but we don't
Right,
know which way to take to
right,
go home. And you're
right,
constantly
right.
just going around in a figure of eight. Which brings me to
Yeah.
this. What about the trust question, Pallavi? Will stricter regulation rebuild public trust in the digital sphere, or could it just be a
Um,
shift which is too much power over speech towards the state?
So, yeah, I mean, trust has always been an issue whenever it comes to digital platforms. I mean, numerous stories have been done. Governments have been getting, particularly like it started with Australia. They came down with the ban on for the teenagers. So till 16 years, there's a ban for children. In fact, today Instagram has also, they have said that they are going to alert parents if there is a any kind of post about suicide, or for example, and if any
If
children is
you
talking about
ask
it.
me, if you,
Yeah,
my personal opinion, I think they did the right thing. I
yeah,
think
absolutely.
for our chief minister here in Karnataka, thinking on those lines is a great
Yeah,
step.
yeah.
I agree with
Absolutely.
that. You know, it's
Yes,
the
yes,
formative
definitely.
years. You cannot corrupt a young mind. That's my
Yeah, yeah.
thought.
Yeah, so which is why I think because of the pressure which is mounting globally, in fact, US, there have been so many protests. Parents want social media to be banned in the US, or rather, if not banned, at least taken that 16 or the 18 years route. So Instagram has today said that they are going to flag parents. I mean, they're going to
Sure.
basically go flag parents when if they see any kind of post which is related to suicide by any child, a teenager,
Or
or like
anything
basically.
drastic for that matter.
Yes, absolutely. So building trust, I mean, I would say it's like a, see, social media has been a wild west kind of a thing. Everybody, everything is on social media these days. There is no, so there is the whole concept of a cleaner digital platform that probably definitely will help in build trust for the platforms. Now, the only issue is that what will happen to the power shift? Whether the government is trying to, so there's a thin line between actually what they're trying to monitor and
And
whether they're
control
trying
the
to actually.
narrative.
Yes, and that is where the whole discussion will lie, uh, in future. I would
Do you
so
feel
digital sovereignty and all of that, which we talk about, that will come into question in whenever we talk about trust on social media.
No, but to be honest, Pallavi, I think it just goes beyond that. I mean, I don't know. This is just a thought which I wanted to kind of just spitball with you.
Yeah.
Do you feel an independent committee, or for that matter, with people who are a heady mix from the private and the government sectors, who probably have all the experience, should actually independently decide on the frameworks?
Definitely. In fact, the AI policy framework also, which has been proposed, which is just on the draft stage, that also talks about copyright issues and the same revenue sharing thing between the AI companies, and also the basically whatever stuff they're using for to train the models. So there also the revenue sharing thing has been talked about. And even today, the minister has again talked about revenue sharing in between social media platforms and the creators. So the narrative is possibly and should change in certain cases. And yes, we do need a regulatory body, both in terms of AI usage and also for social media. It is a long overdue, I believe.
Tell me this finally, in terms of your final thoughts as far as this entire development is concerned, Pallavi. What do you feel should be the things we need to be very, very careful about as we move forward? It's a great initiative, all right, but it
Yeah.
needs to also make sure that it protects the people who are genuinely going ahead and maybe earning a livelihood and without doing anything hanky-panky. Also for the same time, at the same time, I believe it needs to be very, very prominently layered, and everything needs to be defined very clearly so that there is no gray area where people can go ahead and exploit. Based on those two things, what do you think should be the move forward?
Yeah, so as of now, we have only talked about that this should be done and that should be done. Now the question is, what exactly should be done? What are the rules? Where is the stopgap? Like as you were talking about, like what kind of rules do we need to really do we need to really pen down? Which where how can we segregate the platforms themselves? Like for example, will the rule be same, say for a small social media, say based out of West Bengal or Karnataka, and Instagram? All the rules will differ. How would you differentiate the influencers or the content creators? There are very small content creators who hardly earn, who are even in villages. Will that person earn the same, or the revenue model earn defined would be same as, say, Kusha Kapila? So that differentiator, that those things really need to be penned down. What would be the guardrails that would be there? So I would say we need a social media policy, I would say. I mean, not really only talking about revenue. No, these are small, these are 1 month things, like, but there, if you say consolidated, even if you consolidate everything, so we might just go forward, should with a social media policy, as many governments are actually thinking about. So
Fair
yeah,
enough.
we need it.
Fair enough. Thank you so much, Pallavi, for all your insights. Of course, this is not a conversation which will end any soon.
Yeah,
Developments will
it's
keep
only
taking
started.
place, and of course, we will keep bringing Pallavi back as we see the developments carrying on only on front page. And there you have it. We would definitely like to know what you feel as far as your thoughts on this entire discussion is. Do you feel that it is important for us to come up with a policy which at so many levels does give guardrails, safeguards to make sure that there is development and a healthy development. But at the same given point in time, the equation and the balance of it should not just constantly tilt towards control by the state. Please do let us know what you have to say in the comments below. This, ladies and gentlemen, is Front Page by the AIM Network. Like, share, subscribe, and always remember, think AI, think AIM.